Okay, hold on just a minute. Welcome to Zen Live, and let's crack the cosmic egg. Hold on just a minute. I thought I was ready to go. Now I'm ready to go. Okay. I only come in the morning to do my talks when I have something I'm excited about. And ideas can crack open the cosmic egg. And so the idea, the title of this talk is The Gravity of Sugar, which everybody can identify with because our culture, our industrial food complex is saturated with sugar. My wife has diabetes, and she works, she's made it a spiritual practice to find to restore her unity or her health through changing our diet. In other words, you have to go against the gravity of sugar. Now, gravity is the force that pulls us all back down to earth, restores unity. If there was no gravity, everything flies off, you see. So gravity holds us back towards matter, pulls us back towards the body. And so the gravity of sugar is that our culture, our food complex, has gradually been increasing sugar, just as a tobacco company would gradually increase nicotine, or the drug dealer would gradually increase the drug, or the pharmaceutical industry gradually increases the opiates, or whatever we become addicted to, because now here's an idea I want to share. It's very difficult to explain, but one that excites me. It's the idea, all right, let's look at I put a gong up here. All right, you know, we all have, I didn't bring it with me, but when you strike a gong, a beat phenomena happens. It goes, wah, 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 wah. You know, it's called a phase. In and out of phase. Now, this tone, when you hit the gong, is the same. But it begins to oscillate. I mean, it's a wave, but it's one wave. But it begins to get out of sync. And so when it's out of sync, there's a tension. So the beat effect is that it's in and out of unity, in and out of phase, and that's what we hear. Now, how does it get in and out of phase? Now, here's the idea that really excites me, is that we are not in time, we are time. This is a different, well, this is the Zen way of looking at time. And time has a memory, and a cumulative memory. So everything we perceive, everything we encounter from our. We don't encounter everything. This is why Alzheimer's is such a scary thing, is because there's the person with Alzheimer's encounters the moment without a memory. So this memory is a cumulative effect, you see. So when we listen to the gong, so this memory gradually gets more and more out of sync with the present moment, which has no memory. You see, the present moment now is just, this is what Zen is all about. The present moment is just this. You greet the present moment with no memory. Now, that's not easy. But if you greet the present moment with the memory of the accumulated past, the reference for the present moment then is the past. So there's this constant out of phase, the beat phenomena. And it's due to the accumulation of memory. It keeps adding and adding and adding and adding. And so the tension between the memory of now and the now keeps getting wider and wider apart. And the Buddha calls this dukkha, or suffering. So I'm using the gong here as a metaphor, an analogy, so that when we experience the out of phase, we experience suffering. And this creates the intense desire to restore unity, to get our life back in phase. But how do we get back in phase? By aligning ourselves with the memory, but the memory, you see, is accumulating. And like with the sugar or the pharmaceuticals or the drugs or whatever, because that is a chemical that affects and changes the body keeps needing more and more excitement, more and more sugar. And it gets addicted to the level of sugar. So if you try to not eat sugar, the gravity of the memory pulls you back. You see, so the gravity of the memory, which is accumulating, pulls us back, which increases our being out of sync, because the present moment is always fresh, always in unity, and we're out of sync with the present moment because we're greeting the present moment with the accumulation of our memory of the present moment. And so this creates a tension between the body and the mind. The body that wants the sugar and the awareness that perceives the present moment as being fresh, without sugar. Just this, you see. And so trying to connect these two things together here is that take my wife, for instance. So when you get the diabetes, you get the suffering. In other words, you're eating sugar, having a great time, you're just aligning with the gravity of the memory, which is our accumulation of our sugar diet, the sugar pops and all of the sugar that's hidden in the food. We're just in alignment with that until the diabetes comes along, and the effect now is suffering. Wait a minute, you see. Now, instead of pleasure, I'm getting pain. So this creates a tension between, it creates an out of phase. Now we're out of phase with our sugar memory and the body's memory of sugar. You see, the body remembers the sugar. And if you eat something that doesn't have any sugar in it, the body says, this is no good. It's got no sugar, you see. So the body has this memory built up because it's in the form, it's in the body, it's in the chemistry, it's in the brain, it's in the cells, you see. The material form carries the memory. But suddenly when we're out of phase, then the awareness of the mind sees the suffering. And now it tries to restore unity. But it can't restore unity by going back to the sugar gravity, by going back to the sugar deity, you see. So this creates an opportunity, a potential for creativity. So when there is tension, this is the creative field for a new idea. When there is suffering, that creates the need for a creative idea. Now the creative idea restores unity. So the creative idea then, in this context of diabetes and sugar, would be a new diet, a new way of eating. Now here's the thing, that when you have a new idea that restores unity, now when you stay with it, that new idea restructures the memory of the body. So you begin to restructure, because now you're starting fresh. The new idea is a new unity. The idea is a unity that removes the suffering of the disunity of the in this particular situation, sugar. And the gravity of it, you see. So the new idea creates a new unity, and if the vow to do this new idea holds, it restructures the body. It restructures the memory of the body, which is the actual chemicals. The chemical, when the body is balanced on sugar, this new idea, new diet, restructures the memory of the body. So this is now how can the mind change the body? Well, let's go back to my old favorite Gestalt picture of the old woman and the young woman. And I hope you've seen this before, but you can see the old woman. Here's her left eye, her nose, her mouth. And you see the young woman. Here's her left side of her face, her left ear, her eye, and a necklace. Now this is a Gestalt metaphor for the for ambiguity or for a tension. So there's a tension between these two. And say, so the old woman is the body, and the young woman is the mind. Now you'll notice if you change the old woman, like you add a neck, if you add this mouth to the old woman, it changes the young woman. It adds a necklace. Even though they are separate, they are mutually dependent. They resonate. So if you change one, you change the other. So in the same way, if we change the mind, we also change the body. Now we say, in our particular Western map, you say, well, is the mind the source of the body, or is the body, the brain, the source of the mind? In our culture, everybody says the brain is the source of the mind. Everything is genes, everything is brains, everything is neurons, everything is electrical chemistry, everything is matter, you see. So we live in a material world where everything is matter, and matter creates mind. But in the Zen world, and in all of the other traditions that are not materialistic, there's a different way of looking at it. So idealism would say, well, mind creates matter, so matter is just an illusion. Everything is self. Matter is just so a lot of the non-dual philosophies we see now take that position. Mind is the source, is the one. And it creates, matter is just an appearance. But then the realist would say, well, no, matter is real, mind is the illusion. Mind is just created by matter. So each one is trying to find the one and restore unity because of this tension between mind and body. So each one restores unity by picking one or the other. They restore unity by picking everything is the old woman causes the young woman, and the idealists would say, no, the young woman causes the old woman. But neither is true, as we can see here. They're both separate. They're both independent, yet they are mutually dependent. So, mind and body are mutually dependent, yet they're separate. So what is the one? Well, the one has to be created. The one has to be, the tension between the mind and body has to be created by a leap of faith, where you just jump wholeheartedly into a new idea, a new way of life. We do this all the time, but we don't have a map for it. A new relationship. You jump into this new relationship. In the old life, the old memory dies off. You have a conversion, a spiritual experience that can immediately change the gravity of your memory and restructure your whole life. That's the whole idea between putting people in prison. You put them in prison so they will have a new idea and restructure their life, and no longer restructure their life from the memory of a criminal. So we see this all through our life, you see, is that we're trying to recreate. Born again, you see. I'm born again. What does that mean? That means that I am new and that I have restructured the memory, so I'm no longer operating from the memory of who I was. I'm new now. Everything is fresh. Everything is new. I'm like a little child again. This is what Jesus was talking about, the kingdom of heaven. You have to be like a little child. It has to be fresh. has to be born again, you see. A new idea restructures both the mind and the body. So if you work on one or the other, you're going to work. If you work on the mind, you're also going to change the body. If you work on the body, you're going to change the mind, because they're mutually dependent. So the idea we're working with here, using the common analogy of sugar, is that a new diet will restructure the mind and the body and restore unity and remove the effects of the old memory, the effects of diabetes. And this can be changed. This is what Buddhism is all about. The Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth says there is suffering. There is the suffering is the effects of something. What is it? What's the cause of the effects? What's the cause of my suffering if I have sugar diabetes? Well, in this particular situation, too much sugar. If we get into Buddhism, it's too much future. So the point here is that if you could find the cause of the effects and remove the cause, the effects disappear. Poof. See, the cause holds the effects in place. So memory, accumulated memory, holds the effects of suffering in place. And it increases it, because the memory accumulates and builds on itself. So it's always adding more to the same pile of memories, you see. And so the suffering increases, because the memory is the past, and the memory is out of sync with the now, which is always fresh. The now is always fresh, you see. And the memory is always old. So you get this accumulation piling up, you see. And the greater the distance between the memory of the past, the accumulation of memory, and the now, is suffering, dis-ease, tension, anxiety. So anxiety is the feeling we have when the gap between the now and the accumulated memory is growing. Because there is an ambiguity here between the awareness of now as being new and the awareness of now as being old. You see that? The awareness of now as being old is the Groundhog Day effect. I'm in a cycle here. I'm in a repetitious cycle. Everything is always coming back to the same old, same old. Why? What is this, you see? This same old dilemma, this same old double bind, this same old tension in my relationship, this same old habit keeps coming back, even though I think I've gotten rid of it, you see. So this accumulation of the past is called karma. Our karma increases, you see. And the gap then between the freshness of now, which our awareness knows, because we see it, and so that's the one, and yet the accumulated memory through which we see the present moment is also the one. So we're looking at the present moment either through the eyes of the old lady, which is the accumulation of memory, or the young woman, which is now fresh, beautiful. Everything is wondrous. Christmas morning. Garden of Eden. Spiritual enlightenment. Spiritual experience. We all have little ones, big ones. But the old woman and the young woman are both comprehensive worldviews, but they're incompatible. So this tension creates the spiritual journey. The spiritual journey is the yearning for unity. Is the yearning to make timelessness and time one. See, Time is accumulation of memory. Eternity is now, is always one, is always now. Always now meets time. This moment right there, this moment where time and eternity meet, is the now. So when we make this leap of faith, I got to put that in here. Faith in what? That there is unity that transcends the pair of opposites, or the old woman and the new woman. So using this as an analogy, you have the old woman and the young woman. What is the unity that transcends both? It's the ink blot. The ink blot before it became young woman and old woman. This is when you first look at this picture, you just see ink. Then maybe you see the old woman. Oh, I see everything in terms of my past. But then that will oscillate. You can't hold it. That oscillates and you see the young woman. And the young woman appears. Oh, everything is new. Then the old woman comes back. Oh, everything is old. Then everything is new. Wow, 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 wow. Now we got the gong. Wow, 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 wow. You see, this oscillation happens. So this creates suffering. This creates pain, tension. And this tension either goes into violence or creativity. And creativity is creating a new world, a new you, a new idea, a new way of being in the world, which restores unity. Now, unless we live as a creative idea, unless we live as time itself, you see, we once again will create the dichotomy between the old and the new. Because what was new becomes old. And we have to rediscover newness again. So life then becomes a constant rebirthing. A constant rebirth of the new out of the old, out of the young woman out of the old, you see. It doesn't stay the same. It doesn't stay static. It's a dynamic unity. Life is dynamic. It's a life of constant creating, constant faith, constant leaping, constantly discovering new ideas that unify your life. Not the world, but you. You are the world and the world is you. So a new idea can restructure you. And when you restructure you, you restructure the world you live in. They're both the same. You are the world and the world is you. The world's the old woman, you're the young woman. If you change you change the world. If you change the old woman, you change the young woman. If you change the young woman, you change the old woman. You are the world and the world is you. If you change you with a new idea that restructures your mind and body, which is the way you are in the world, you're going to change the world you live in. You'll change the world you live in. Thanks for dropping in.